Welcome to Death Holler, the place of haunted hearts and haunted homes. We welcome you to Death Manor, the home that boasts the most ghosts. Come on in. We've been expecting you. Take a look around. You might see someone that you recognize. Do you hear those voices? That's just the Reverend Dr. Death and Llareyna. They're so happy to see you. Sit back and relax. Make yourself at home. Your new home. And remember, when you're in Death Holler, listener discretion is always advised. We hope you enjoy the show.
There's a scene. I mean, this is throwing it to another Mike Flanagan in Gerald's Game. I had to look away. It was bad. I know it's in the Stephen King story, but when she gets herself out of the cuff, she has to use a broken glass to cut on her hand. And when she's removing the hand from it, it's ripping as it's being pulled off. Can you imagine just your palm kind of just flopping against tendons and stuff? Because that's what they show in. Oh God, it got to me.
What scene was this? I don't remember that.
That was in Gerald's Game. It's
movie. Okay, different movie. I was like, what the hell?
But I'm just saying, Mike Flanagan, when he does gore, he might not do a lot of it, but he does it.
A lot of his stuff is realistic, and I think that's what's the best thing about the films I've seen of his is that I can believe it, and I think that's why it gets me to the core.
Now, it is. But one of the things I want to bring up, because I just thought about it. Okay, so they were seeing themselves in the past and interacting with themselves in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even a scene where the son, the young Tim, is watching a television, and I've heard, I didn't actually do this, that if you, it's static on the screen, but if you pause it and go frame by frame, it actually shows Kaylee from the future.
Oh, shit. I need to go check that out.
So is the movie operating in a time loop, or is it just them seeing the past? Because they actually interact with the past a little bit in a roundabout way. They actually see them. They see their future selves. And I'm wondering, how the mirror is supposed to be a portal or a window.
Yes.
Is it also a window to the past? Because they're the first people who have went back to that mirror and actually interacted with it. I mean, most people get wiped out and then it gets moved on to somebody else, but they've got it in the same place and they're, interacting with themselves. I just wonder if there's kind of a time manipulation thing that the mirror is doing to a certain extent.
It would make sense because it's not something that Mike Flanagan is a stranger from, and this could be the first instances of what he was doing, obviously, prior to Hill House on Netflix, where you had the Crooked Lady, where she was seeing herself.
Yes.
I don't know for sure that she knew it was her at first, but there is definitely a scene where the kid sees. He looks in the hallway, and granted, it could have been an empty hallway in the past, but his older version of himself was standing right there, and they were quotation mark looking at each other. And I was like, I could see that being legit because you're like, why am I seeing? He wouldn't recognize himself from the future. I wouldn't look at myself, in the future and be like, oh my God, I'm 11, but that looks just like me when I turn 30,
And that's one of the creepier elements from Hill House, and I think that this was a dry run for that, the whole haunting yourself. He literally was haunting himself in that scene.
Yeah.
He was seeing his own future self and didn't even realize what he was looking at.
The kid didn't seem too scared, so, it moved on very quickly from that. So it only left you to wonder, okay, did this just happen? And then obviously they move on in action. I really did like how you didn't know what was happening, if it was the past or the future. Granted, it made a lot of sense to me because the best part of this movie is that hauntings in a specific house, which is what this was, obviously attached to a mirror. They had to get the mirror back in the house. So granted, those are the two keys that unlocked everything that was going on. But isn't that what a haunting is? Kind of like a replay of something that happened in the past?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the hauntings are supposed. I mean, you can break it down. There's like intelligent ghosts or whatever that people talk about, but some hauntings are literally like memories of, or like projections of the past just replaying themselves. Like, and there's some people that went so far as to explain it scientifically, because like, especially it's like some of the old school buildings were built with like this porous brick that's like able to absorb sounds if nothing else.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you can hear sounds. Like the theory that some people hear sounds whenever they're walking through like a deserted like old school is maybe they're hearing the sounds that have been absorbed into the walls being reverberated, and that it's just replaying itself.
Exactly.
So that and that's what you're seeing in this movie to a certain extent.
Yeah, I definitely liked that about this film. I also want to say too, and I don't know that you noticed this, it was something I noticed, is that the ghost actually can't physically harm you.
You harm yourself.
You harm yourself. They mentally fuck with you and cause you to do the damage, which is, like, in my opinion, the ultimate evil. They can possess you, though. So there is that. Now, I don't know. What's your opinion on the mom? Do you think she got possessed when she was going after her kids for a brief moment? I think she was. But it was very brief because it was almost like the dad took over.
The dad was clearly the one that was possessed by Marisol.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the mom, like you said, was mostly driven crazy by the suspicions that her husband was cheating on her, because they already set up in the movie the whole C-section scar. So she was not confident about her own looks, and confident that even though there's a scene where he's like kissing the scar, kissing her, when early in the movie to kind of lay her fears, she has that fear that she's just not attractive to him anymore after having that scar. And
fucking one of the most gorgeous fucking bodies this woman has too. So
yeah, well, I mean, but that's how it always goes.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can be
as beautiful as Katie Sackhoff is and still have that hang up.
Yeah,
but I mean, she had this going on. And then, and then of course she was having to compete with, Kate Siegel as a ghost, which is, its own problem. But like, I mean, but she's already got like this kind of, lacking confidence in herself. This kind of, like she's afraid that her husband's, like not attracted to her. And then whenever she hears her own daughter mention, well, who's that lady in the room with you? Whatever, because, that sets her off that way. So, I mean, like her whole thing was going crazy that way. And then I think that once she got weakened back, because I think her reserve was better than his, that suspicion and that weakness is what allowed the mirror to take hold of her at that point.
100%. Yeah, but it was very brief. I really think that after he choked her out, if you will, the spirit then was like, okay, cool, I got you now, bitch, because that was also a vulnerable moment for him. That's a really good time to get possessed.
And he was fighting it too at one point, because he actually, I mean, he was trying to take care of the kids, and he, right before that, and he was trying to, get what he thought was like the dangerous mom away from them and get them out of that element.
I think, he was away from the house. So when you're away, you lose Wi-Fi signal.
He was out golfing and he lost the signal, because they mentioned that, which is very smart. It has a relative range, which is, we already talked about it, established rules, and they set this up perfectly.
They have geofencing.
Yeah, she put, like the plants out, and I mean, wherever the plants started dying, that was the range it was currently at, and it was getting bigger and bigger as it went along. The more absorbed, after it ate the dog or whatever happened to the dog, it really ramped up its range because it expanded outward from that. But I like the fact they established that, because it could only operate within basically the house and a little bit into the yard when it was at its fullest power.
Yeah.
But established rules, I mean, that really goes a long way to making you feel like you're in a realistic situation. I mean, despite the fact that it's supernatural and all that stuff.
It's it's natural.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like there was any kind of like, maybe, because he's a big Stephen King fan, I mean, obviously, do you think that The Shining had any inspiration in this story? Because the fact that the dad goes crazy.
Oh my God.
And he goes and he abuses the mom. And then the kid, is the one that, and the kid's seeing dead people, too. I mean, there's a little bit to that, I think.
I now that you mention it, 100% believe that The Shining was a huge inspiration for this. I mean, even if unintentionally.
I mean, he went so far as to he made Doctor Sleep. He made the sequel to The Shining. So it was like, I mean, and he even went so far as to like he tapped into the Wendy theory that we talked about because Wendy went crazy in this
Yeah.
one. I mean, it wasn't just the dad.
I mean, I would legit go crazy, but I'll tell you what, ghost or not, if my husband's having an affair with a mirror or even a real person, one of us is going to be dead and it's not going to be me. And that ghost better fucking watch herself.
I know you've got a beautiful ghost woman from your mirror, but you better get that bitch back in her
Yeah,
cage,
you better put her back in her place or I will. And I'll tell you what, you're going to go with her. You guys can be happy in your little fucking mirror land, okay?
Speaking of that, this is a tangent again, but Gerald's Game, I was watching that, and Mike Flanagan, like he uses, the dad from Hill House, right? The younger dad that played Jack Torrance, in Dr. Sleep. He plays the creepy dad in Gerald's Game. Okay, and I say creepy because when you watch it and what he does, the whole bear situation in The Shining, it happens in Gerald's Game for real. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Oh, damn.
It's not full on molestation, but when your dad's jacking off while you're sitting on his lap, bad stuff.
Good God, I'm not watching that movie.
So anyways, like after he has done this and he's talking to his daughter, the one that ends up in the situation in Gerald's Game, and he's doing this awful like mind manipulation to get her to not say anything to her mom, which is Kate Siegel, the movie, which is funny. Like he's trying to get her, he's basically trying to convince, he's like, well, we got to tell your mom. And she's like, no, we can't tell mom. We'll get into trouble. And like, he wants her to say that because he's trying to reverse psychology keeping her quiet. He says at one point, he says, you'll have to take your medicine if she finds out. And it's just so creepy because he ends up becoming Jack Torrance in that exact moment when he says that.
I don't want to watch that film anymore. I thought I wanted to watch it.
It's an interesting movie about BDSM that turns bad. That's all I could say.
Alrighty then.
But anyways, get back to this one. So it's just, I mean, I think there's a little bit of The Shining there as an inspiration, but I watched like it's actually based on a short film that Mike Flanagan did. And you can tell this is like a student film or something of the sort that he did, like a YouTuber type film. Like his earliest thing he did, it's Oculus Chapter 3. And it's a guy that's in Kaylee's place.
Wait. Oculus Chapter 3 is a student film?
Well, it looks like a student film. Is
that not a sequel to, because I know there's Oculus Chapter 2 and Oculus Chapter 3. Are those...
Oculus Chapter 3, at least, is supposed to be the main source of inspiration for this film. It's like a short film that he did beforehand.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes or something is all it is. But it's literally the guy is doing the whole scene where Kaylee has got like the computers up and she's explaining to her brother and the cameras like the different ghosts or the people who died at the hands of the ghost and what she's doing with the timers and everything. That is what the short film is based on. And it's literally just that scene. And at the end of it, when the person is calling him, is supposed to call him, he kind of he goes crazy through the course of the 30 minutes and because he can't believe anything and he believes that the ghost is the one who's calling him on the phone, so he refuses to answer. And he basically gets doomed that way. And it's kind of interesting to watch. It's like you can kind of see where he took that core idea and expanded it out into the main movie. Like you can't believe your eyes.
I do love when short films turn into big films, but I often find that the short films are really, really good. And sometimes the longer films aren't what
like Lights Out.
Aren't what you expected from them. But
this one's better. This one's way better. Like he took the idea and expanded it out and put more flesh on the bone basically, and it's better for it. Now, Don had mentioned that he was kind of unsure like what the actual ending was supposed to mean. I want to get into that because I've got my interpretations, and I feel like that's pretty much what the movie's supposed to be saying that the ending is, but I want to get it from you. My interpretation is that once they see everything they're going to see, like she is trapped in her own world at the last little minute. She's reunited with her mom, who's actually Marisol, which is funny that she sees her mom because her mom would be another ghost that's trapped in the mirror because she technically was killed in the house. And she sees her mom, and as she's hugging her, she's actually at the mirror at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The brother doesn't realize that she's in the room with her, and he decides that he's going to take it out and save his sister because he can't find her anywhere. And whenever he, activates or lets the yacht anchor activate, it actually turns out she was standing in front of him the whole time, and it goes right through her. And like you said, doesn't break the mirror somehow. But basically, my interpretation is that with the mirror tricked him into killing not only his dad, which
Jesus fucking Christ, Benny, holy shit, you scared the Dad wanted to what? I sent him the address. I texted it to him. Sorry, I just see something moving on the side, and it's my son.
Oh,
I love you, baby. We're leaving that in.
You about had a heart attack live on the
What did
podcast.
I look like? What did my face look like?
You looked like you saw Marisol walking in on you. You were gonna...
He was so quiet. He's so good.
But
Okay,
anyways, my interpretation is that he after he killed his father, who was possessed by the mirror, he ends up killing his sister, who is being corrupted by the mirror without her realizing she's being corrupted by it. And he plays the tragic, story of, he's going to go right back into the system.
Oh, yeah.
And be confirmed, that he's psychotic and should never be released for the rest of his life now, because the one time chance they gave him, he fucked it up. And the mirror's going to go on to kill other people because of it.
That's exactly how I interpreted it. I'm like, well, the mirror manipulated them enough that it claimed another soul that it wanted, which I'm pretty sure that mirror, to be honest with you, that mirror wants his soul too, if it can.
Yeah, I think it might, and if there was ever to be a sequel, I think it somehow will. If he's ever released, he'll stumble upon it and actually get claimed by it eventually.
Yeah, it definitely, because the menacing look when he sees his family in the house as he's being pulled away, being taken away by authorities.
And they've all got that look, that ghost look,
that menacing look.
Look.
Not only was the menacing look expressing that, one, we won, two, we'll fucking get you if we can. So you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, sir. I think he's safer in the institution, honestly.
Yeah, and also it's also, and not only is it we got you, it's also it's like a backhanded slap on top of that, because it's literally he's showing that it's got all of his family now. No, we're happy
together and we're gonna go murder some bitches. I think this is just me, Mike Flanagan. I want some credit if you take this from me, okay? He probably has already created this in his own head, so he doesn't need me. But a great sequel would be the institution trying to help him get over his fear of the mirror by bringing it to him.
Oh, God, yeah, bringing it actually to him, and then it starts...
There's nothing to be afraid of. We're going to fucking get you, bitch!
You could really ramp it up and start having if you wanted to go this route. Now, Mike Flanagan's not known for this kind of theatrical type, this kind of stuff, but if you wanted to camp it up and go big time with it, have multiple people in the institution getting killed by the mirror before it ever gets to him. So it's you see maybe the psychiatrist gets taken out first because he doesn't believe in it. And it takes him out, and then slowly, or it starts ramping up and takes more and more people out of the institution before it finally claims Tim's character.
Yeah. Oh, my God. What did I want to say? Okay, about the mirror. When the sister dies, when she gets murdered against that mirror while she's, quotation mark, hugging her mom, which I'm like, come on, you fucking know better. You dumb bitch. But anyways,
I think, wait a minute. We got to throw something out there. She has been weakened at this point. We've already talked about how the mirror weakens you before it takes you over. It weakened her. When she killed her fiance, she was doomed because that broke her. If she could have staged, her will was broken at that point.
Her fiance, that's what got her, was definitely her fiance, which fucked up that they just had him standing there looking at her and smiling after he became part of the house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was more scary than Marisol coming after them, in my opinion. I was like, I don't fucking like this. I'm not here for it. But okay, this was me, and I was trying to unsee it, and I'm like, how am I seeing this? Are they doing this intentionally, or is it just how it plays out? But she's against the mirror, she's fucking dying, and she looks like her mom to me. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
Okay.
she did. I think they intentionally kind of made her like Gillen kind of look like Katie Sackhoff at certain times. Just, I mean, even the way she had her hair up, like at certain, like it was like she was mimicking her mom that way.
Yeah, and
So
I liked it. That was really, really cool. But I was just like, am I fucking going crazy now? Like, what am I seeing? I think it's fucked up, but it works that the house allowed that phone call to the police to go through so he could tell on himself, essentially.
The one thing, the one thing it allowed to work, and it was like, okay, because the son's getting set up. We'll deal with him later, but the son's getting set up for this because the mirror protects itself. She said that in the movie.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't just protect itself from physical harm; it protects itself from being caught.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's the interesting thing.
Oh, yeah. It fucks with all the electronic devices. I feel they don't know how to. She did all this investigation on the mirror, but she only investigated on how really to survive the mirror. And she was really hell-bent on catching the mirror so she could kind of like, oh, my parents really didn't do this. It was the mirror. I get it. Okay. But she didn't spend enough time figuring out how to get rid of the mirror or how to destroy the mirror. She wasn't prepared for that. She went into battle with no ammo whatsoever. She just went with a news crew, basically.
Well, and her motive wasn't the soundest either, because it'd be one thing if she was trying to prove the mirror was actually that way so that she could prevent other people from having that issue with the mirror, which would have been the morally superior way to go about it.
Yeah.
Her main reason, and and Tim brings it up, it's like, when he's talking to her, he's like, are you doing this just to prove to the people you went to school with that your dad wasn't a murderer? And that's literally the reason she was doing it.
Yeah.
It was to save her dad's name. She didn't care about, keeping the next family from having the same problem that she did. So it was kind of like her own, like, short-sighted, vengeance was what done her in more than anything.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. But like I said, it works. Obviously, it was one of the shortcomings. I think after me, if I was in the situation, one would not be in the situation. Sorry, future family. I was kidding. That's going to get this mirror. Y'all on your own. That mirror cost a pretty penny. And I don't know. Maybe there's a fateful reason you got it. I'm just saying. I don't want anything to do with it.
$16,000 for that mirror deserves what's coming to him.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
Fate works in mysterious ways. And I just want my brother to be healthy and happy after he gets out of the mental institution.
That's true.
Just kidding, though. But seriously, if I were in this situation, yes, I would want to destroy that mirror. But once I realized that the camera's not capturing what's really happening, it's over. Next step, let's burn this house down and see what happens. Maybe it won't destroy the mirror, but burning seems to do magical things in the supernatural world.
The problem with that is by the time she realizes that the cameras are not capturing what she's actually seeing, it's too late because the extent of the mirror's power is expanded too much.
That's true, yeah.
Because if it had stayed in the room, they could have got out of there and possibly got out of the house. But whenever it extended to the front door and into the yard, they didn't know when they were leaving the house and whenever they were still in the house.
Yes, and that was, oh my God. I loved that so much in this film, even though it was irritating. I also loved how 1 second you're with your sibling because they're like, we need to stick together. But they never stuck together because you never know when you were actually with your sibling. And then you'd be with like the child version of yourself and you're like, oh, I'm going to help this past version of myself. No, I'm just witnessing what I already kind of knew. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Tim needed that. Because he wasn't remembering like she was.
No, he wasn't remembering because the psychiatrist and the 11 years in institution had like made him doubt he had been gaslit with reality, quote unquote, for so long that he didn't believe what he actually saw when he was a kid. So, which is a reverse of the whole situation. Instead of, like you believing what you saw, like what he saw was considered a psychosis. So he was trained to believe something entirely different than what actually was going on in front of his eyes.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting what, you were talking about. I mean, we're talking about the house and its effects, how it extended out. The one thing that I hate, and this is going to be brought up with Deep House, unfortunately, whenever I go to discuss it, is that one of my biggest pet peeves is whenever you don't know how to keep your protagonist in a certain location because they're too smart to stay there if they're going to get killed. So when they try to escape, you come up with some bullshit magical reason why they can't leave the place. I believe it works perfectly in a movie like this where, like they were obviously too smart to stay there, but whenever they tried, they couldn't leave if they wanted to because their eyes were being tricked or whatever, where they couldn't leave. A lot of movies do the opposite of that, where they put up some kind of magical barrier. Suddenly the doors won't open or whatever. And I'm fine with you keeping the protagonist located in the spot where the haunting or whatever's going on, as long as you come up with a decent reason besides just magic. Like that's kind of a bullshit reason why they can't leave.
It was the perception of the mind that was fucking with them. It's like, okay, I don't know if that's really me in there about to get slaughtered by the fucking anchor, because they're watching themselves. Call this Hotel California because you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
You can never leave.
Yeah, it was good. You know what? Physically too, if you remember when they were kids, the dad's not feeding them. Okay, he's full on possessed at this point. Mom's chained up in the room. Daughter finds out the hard way, what's really happening, etc. And they're trying to call doctors, but the house is the fucking mirror is fucking with them, and it's just the same person over and over. Oh, your dad needs to call. Your dad needs to call. So they know, okay, we're not really calling anybody. It's not allowing us to. So the daughter leaves. She didn't leave with her brother, though. I don't know if things would have played out differently. But she leaves to try to go to get help, and it's Mike Flanagan that returns her home, the neighbor.
Oh, my God. I didn't even realize that was him.
Yes.
Yep.
And he returns her home. And I thought physically that's probably how it would play out. A troubled child goes to the neighbor for help. The neighbor's like, fuck, I got to get the dad involved. I know the dad. He's a reasonable guy.
Imagine what she told the guy.
If
she told him what, it's like, okay, you're telling, what's more believable? Like this kid's making this up, or your neighbor has really got his wife, dog chained to next to their bed, like she's, clawing herself to death on top of it, and then like he is being possessed by a ghost. Seriously.
But do we know that she said that though?
Well, she said something similar. She said something about he was doing something to her mom or, whatever. So, and the first, you don't want to believe that about somebody, whether, especially if it's your neighbor. It's one of those, it's almost like a self-defense mechanism. Like, even if it's going on, like, you don't want to believe it because that means you're living next to a monster.
Yeah, that's true.
So you won't believe it because of that reason.
What would you do if a kid came up to you and asked you for that kind of help?
God, I don't know. I think I would think that they were just fucking with me, honestly. Because like my neighbors don't come around me that often, and they just ran, and they didn't in that movie either because they just moved in. So like they randomly show up, and you're like, what the what's going on here? Why are you getting me involved in this?
Well, they played golf together though, so they obviously knew each other.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. He saw the guy outside of that situation, and he was perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah, because he was out of the Wi-Fi range.
You hear this all the time about serial killers. Like, the people who hung out with them outside of the situation, they were good people. Like, they had no reason to believe that they were that way.
I think knowing that information, I would, at minimum, ask for a welfare check. It's tough. I would hate if that had happened to me, but at the same time, if you don't have anything to hide, I wouldn't have anything to hide except my dirty house, and I would almost respect that and be like, okay, these people care enough that they thought that something, bad was happening. And if I was indeed doing that, having my husband chained up in the room, mind your damn business, okay? No, I was kidding. But, then you got caught, They're not going to give you a 48-hour notice. Authorities are just going to come and say, hey, we need to do a welfare check. We heard this information.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think even if they came in, they would have saw what they needed to see. I don't think the mirror would have allowed them to see that.
They would have seen the mom chained up, though.
Would they have, though?
Maybe. Okay, in real life, though, if a kid comes and tells me, hey, my dad, there's no food in the house, and my dad has my mom chained up, and my mom's sick and needs help, okay, that's some shit. Stay here. I'm going to get someone to help you. Because I'm not going to send them back to that situation. I don't care if they're fucking with me or not. If they're fucking with me, they're going to be like running off and being scared at this point because now I'm keeping them in my house to try to protect them, If they're not fucking with me, they really need my help. And I need someone to go follow through and see what's going on,
I can see that. I don't know. I would have to be in that situation though, how I
Yeah.
react, honestly.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
none of us know how we'd really respond.
Like I said, your body just naturally wants to push that out. It's
Fight
like,
or flight.
no, yeah, it's like, okay, that's not a thing that happens next door to me. I don't live next door to Ted Bundy, you know. It's not
Yeah.
one of those things.
I do like how, though, in the physical world, that's how it played out. She went for more help, and the house was, or the mirror was just like, ha ha, bitch, you thought, you know? And the dad just looks at her. He doesn't do anything. Because, like, at that point, I'm thinking, oh, these kids are going to get beat down or he's going to murder them. No. He just looks at them like, and then goes back into his office.
I just realized something. This has a scene, and I mentally blocked it out completely. When the dad is sitting there and he's like working on his nails.
Oh,
remember that scene?
No, I don't want to remember that scene.
God, I can't deal with scenes like that.
I did not like that.
That's another scene where Mike Flanagan, like, effective. He really, like,
it looks
body
so
mutilation.
real.
He is really into body mutilation in his movies.
It's effective, but he does it in a sense because it wasn't overly gory. I've witnessed my husband, he ripped his toenail by accident, tripping on a rug, and he wanted me to do what happened in this film, okay? I obviously could not do it. We did record him pulling that nail out.
Oh, God.
100% looks like what we saw in this film. I do have that video.
Yeah.
I'll never show you if you don't want to see it. But yes, I do have a video of Noah pulling out this huge toenail, and it healed properly and he survived. It was causing him more pain being attached still than it was. Yeah.
Because I had a similar situation recently where it wasn't my big toe, but it was the toe right beside of it. Mm-hmm. And like it, I guess, repeated like hiking or whatever. Like the nail was dead, but like it was still attached at the cuticle or whatever. And that was the part that bothered me whenever I had to cut it off.
Oh my God. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. For me, obviously, I'd be like, take me to the doctor, stick a needle in my toe. I don't care. Numb that shit. Take it out. I can't. But anyways, yeah, Mike Flanagan's super effective in those scenes. Really had like all the pain. I feel it in my legs. So my legs, if I had been standing, I would have been like, you know. Ugh. And this is coming from a diabetic who's like having to shove needles and stuff constantly, you know.
Oh man. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? I was just gonna go over some trivia real quick before we gave her ratings. If there was anything else.
I think we discussed all the key points that we wanted to discuss.
So, according to this is all from IMDb, you can check the validity of this stuff. So I think sometimes this stuff is added by users, and there's nothing to back it up, but we'll go with it. Now, supposedly, had director Mike Flanagan agreed to film Oculus in the found footage genre, like Paranormal Activity, a number of studios would have backed it as early as 2006.
Wow.
However, he refused until they made it into the type of movie that he made.
Good for him. Why have the same type of film? It would have been drowned by Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that's all that was coming out at that time.
Yeah.
This was Karen Gillan's first American role. I think she was fresh off of Doctor Who at the point, or maybe she was still filming the last part of it whenever she made this. So it was, during that time period. Mike Flanagan has included the Oculus mirror as an Easter egg in most of his movies and TV shows. It's in the basement of Ouija, Origin of Evil. Mm-hmm. It's the headboard in Gerald's Game.
Oh, my God.
It's the walls in The Haunting of Hill House. It's on the walls in The Haunting of Hill House. And Overlook Hotel in Dr. Sleep.
I'm going to be honest with you. That mirror is visually stunning.
It is.
It's a gorgeous mirror.
Prop.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Gillan was the first choice to play Kaylee, as Mike Flanagan was a big fan of her work in Doctor Who. So he liked Amy Pond, and that's the reason he wanted her in that. Something I want to throw out there too, real quick. Mike Flanagan, if you get in good with him and you do one of his movies, you've got a job for life, because the actress who is doing the auctioneering that sells the mirror, she is the actress who is one of the main characters in Absentia, his first movie, and she reappears in one of his later movies. I believe she's the mother in Before I Wake. And the other actress who is in the movie Absentia, his first film, is actually the one who played the Screaming Mimi lady in The Haunting of Hill House. So he brings back actors and actresses. If you get in good with him once, it's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino type thing. You will be reworking with doing another job with him in the future. He likes keeping the same people around that's proven themselves. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I also would like to add that, Mike, I am available if you would like to have me even as just a waitress or something in one of your films, cleaning the floors. Maybe I'm the maid. I'm like, dude, I'm down. So call me.
This movie was filmed in 24 days.
What the fuck? Amazing. Are you serious?
That's what it says, yes.
Holy, can you imagine? Okay. Are you going to go over how much this film made?
I
can look it up. So you can move forward.
Look that up because I put that on the next movie that we're going to discuss, like the next episode, but I didn't do it on this one, unfortunately, I don't think.
Okay, keep going.
When Kaylee is showing her brother photos of previous victims of the Lasser Glass, one of the final victim photos is actually, Mike Flanagan's wife, actress Katie Siegel, which she's Marisol. She was the last victim. Stephen King liked this movie, so that's a good call out to Mike Flanagan, who's an uber Stephen King fan. That his hero actually liked this movie. Let's see. To avoid confusion in writing two different timelines in the script, Mike Flanagan deliberately wrote the scenes in the past in italics, which is smart. So anytime that he flipped timelines, he put the past is in italics so that he knew which time he was talking about.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm like, how do, as an actress or an actor or even a screenwriter, a person reviewing the script, how do you know? So that makes sense.
Yeah, and he probably did the same thing for Hill House to make it easier. Filmed in October 2012, it premiered at the Toronto Film Festival in September 2013, but was not given a proper release until April 2014. Most of the pictures in the house show either reflections or water. This is interesting. For example, in the upstairs hall, there is a black and white photo of a lake reflecting some trees. Another picture shows two identical white boats. So every picture hanging on the wall in the house of these characters is a reflection, which is very cool.
Holy shit.
Which also goes along with that dual timeline thing. It's like reflecting the past.
Katie, we know what you see in him, okay? We know. Girl, we are not even questioning, okay?
Let's see. During the auction where the mirror is sold, the auctioneer mentions that the mirror was acquired from the Levesque estate. WWE superstar Triple H's real name is Paul Levesque.
Which is funny because...
And WWE Studios is one of the producers of the film.
I'm so glad you said that.
However, this is just a strange coincidence, as WWE was not associated with the film at all until after it was completed.
What?
So he wrote this in there, and Hunter, Triple H produced the movie after the fact.
Wow. Okay. Dang.
That's cool. Karen Gillan had to wear a wig for additional scenes as she had cut her hair for Not Another Happy Ending. And after production was completed, she had shaved her head completely for Guardians of the Galaxy. So when she came back to film the additional scenes, she was Nebula's shaved head, so she had to wear a wig in some of the scenes.
I knew that bitch had a weave on in some scenes.
Let's see. He also did Oculus Chapter 3, The Man with a Plan, which is a 2006 short film. We discussed that. Rory Cochrane, who played the dad, was sick with the flu during production of this movie, which makes sense because he looks sick.
He looks sick in the movie. Oh, wow. No makeup needed, folks. No filter.
Nope. Just catch the flu and film your possession scenes. You'll be right there.
God. That poor guy.
At the end of the film, one of the police officers is played by Zach Jeffries, an actor who appeared in Mike Flanagan's first 3 films, going back to what we just talked about. That he made when he was in his college years, Make Believe, Still Life, and The Ghost of Hamilton Street. One of the past victims of the mirror is named Oliver Jeffries, which is the name of Zach's son. So Mike Flanagan, like I said, he keeps his peeps around whenever he needs stuff. Making a film centered around a mirror comes with a whole set of production difficulties because everything is reflected in the mirror. So they had to constantly work out ways to, not catch the cameras in the film shots.
Yeah. I have the numbers too, which we'll go over that.
Do the box office numbers real quick.
Okay. Its budget was $5 million. Pretty low. for the film.
Yeah, it
for
is.
as stunning as the fucking film is, okay?
Oh, it's great quality.
Opening weekend, $4.9 million. So almost equaling its budget, okay?
That's good.
Box office totals, $44 fucking million.
Okay, that's a success by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, yes,
Which,
by far.
This always kills me. Like the Disney movies, like can make like $1 billion, and they're not profitable.
Mm-mm.
That's because they make them for like like 900 million or something like that, and then it's like, well, we didn't. And it's like, and then you got movies like this that make 10 times their budget back because they're so good, but they're so cheap.
I wonder if he doesn't pay his wife. Like he's like, bitch, I give you a good dick down. You better go perform. I'll tell you what. For 5 days, you don't have to give me a blowjob because you will be busy in the film being a sexy ghost. And she was like, deal. I would take that offer.
Now, here's an interesting thing. I mean, not about this movie. It's not trivia about this, but she helped write Hush, and I think that's amazing because the script, you can really tell that a female had some say-so in it because she makes that character realistic, and that's why I like that movie. Like, the character knows that she's not strong enough to take on even this guy who's not like a big bulky like serial killer type. She knows that, especially at the point she's at in the film, like she can't take him on, and I feel like that came from a female perspective. Like she had to come up with she couldn't overpower him, so she had to come up with other ways to get away from the killer in that movie, and that shows that she's a smart one too, the way in writing movies.
God, not only is she beautiful, but she's also smart. It's like she is almost the full package.
And she can act,
Yes.
Some other directors' wives that we're not going to throw under the bus right now. The Bollywood remake of the film is called Dubara See Your Evil, which came out in 2017. I can't even imagine a Bollywood remake of this movie. That would be so stupid.
I mean, if they enjoy it, good for them,
This is kind of funny. Karen Gillan and Katie Sackhoff have both worked with Vin Diesel and Dave Bautista. Karen Gillan would star opposite Vin Diesel and Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy, and Katie Sackhoff starred opposite both of them in Riddick.
Oh my God, yes, I remember her in that now.
When Tim is watching his, that's what I mentioned. When Tim is watching his younger self, watching a cartoon on TV, about 1 minute and 1 hour and 8 minutes into the film, the TV becomes filled with static, and there's several blips. If you slow motion, you'll see 3 pictures: a close up of adult Katie, another close up of her, and then a close up of her with her mouth open as though she's screaming. So
wow, I have to go do that. The Hubs and I, that's on our plans tonight. Grab a bottle of wine, honey. We got plans.
And that's pretty much like the major trivia, but I think some of that's pretty cool. So we got to the ultimate, what a rating is. Honestly, I've got 4 down for this. I want to say 4.5. I really want to say 4.5. I'm just going to go with it because, like, the more we talk about it, I mean, it's just a perfect little film, like, for what he did with it. Mm-hmm. I love it. So, I mean, that's my rating on it. I mean, I really think that more people need to watch it, especially now that he's came out and more people like seen Midnight Mass and are raving about it. Go back and watch his earlier films, especially Hush.
And this film doesn't feel dated at all. I had a hard time believing it was a 2013 film, and I have an even harder time believing that this is a $5 million budget film. He did so good, considering I was thinking before I even looked at the numbers, and you had told me, well, I actually had the numbers, but you were telling me that they had to film around the mirror because obviously it reflects everything. And I'm thinking, God, can't they just like CGI that? Yes, but that cost a lot of fucking money. Probably would have looked shitty. It came out perfect the way it was. I'm going to get interesting on the scale. I'm going to do something we have not done, and I'm going to break the barriers of this mirror in our rating, and I'm going to give this a 4.8 because it was so almost damn perfect to me. I want to give it a 5, but there were those 2 things that I could think right off the top of my head of, the mirror not being damaged while the girl was getting killed against it. Leaving it open that maybe there's more to go on, which I get. So I'm not going to let that ruin the film. And then also the fact that she didn't kind of realize, she wasn't prepared more to try to even damage the mirror. I wish there was some kind of indication of, this is how we could destroy it and then fail at it, because that would have been awesome. Because failing at destroying that mirror was awesome. I'm not upset.
So by breaking this mirror and creating what you're creating, you realize that from here on out, I can
Yes.
actually give the point ratings that I've been wanting to give a lot of these films
Yes,
for a long time.
absolutely. Because I think
the
these
half
mirrors,
ratings, I feel like kind of let down some of the films that deserve to be on the higher end of some of these things.
100%. This movie was almost perfect to me. I mean, no movie's perfect. We've given a few 5s that I think probably didn't deserve 5s. And if anything, this movie would deserve a 5 over some of the films that I've given a 5 to. But yeah, I have never seen this film, never heard of it until you said, hey, let's review this. I am so glad I've watched it. And this makes it a 100% on the Mike Flanagan, scale of films that I've watched, or films or shows that I've watched that he has not let me down.
Well, I'm serious. Go watch Hush if you can, because I mean it's a different type of movie. There's not supernatural element, but I rate it higher than this just because, like, if you take that final girl situation in slasher movies and you amplify it just a little bit and make it a little bit more realistic, that's what that movie is. I think that he took that genre and made like a perfect little film out of it. I think I still, even if you break that barrier, I think I still stick with a 4.5, because like watching Midnight Mass, that to me is his 5.0. Like he's just, and like Haunting of Hill House retroactively, I would give it a 4.8 or 4.9. Like I love that series.
Yeah.
So, but this one's like a little bit down the chain. But like I said, I've really found out I like a lot of his movies, like a lot. So
I really need to keep track of what we're scoring on our films, because I have not been doing that.
That probably would be a good idea, because like I haven't looked back and seen how we've rated them. His first movie, Absentia, which has definitely got that indie look to it that this one does not have, it was filmed for a budget of $70,000. So that's the difference between 70,000 and 5 million. I mean, this looks like a real like full on production. You can't it doesn't look indie at all. Like,
yeah.
I mean, doesn't have that. It's that camera, it's not got that, like this has a movie quality camera look to it. Whereas if you go back and watch Absentia, which has an interesting story, like most of Flanagan's stuff, it's got that cheap look to the film. Like, it looks like it was filmed on a home camcorder or something, so that's the difference.
Yeah.
So what would you like to plug now, since we've got that going on? I'm sure your newest, supernatural, escapades should be plugged. What episode is that, and where can people catch that at?
Well, I have that up already on YouTube right now. In fact, I haven't done the audio because we only did video. So if you're interested in hearing how Vegas was day by day, we tried to keep it like 10 minutes, each episode. And we did very well for the first episode. And then it got longer and longer each time. We obviously had way more to talk about. So you can catch that right now on YouTube. I do need to clip the audio and just post that on Spotify and all the other podcast players that you may listen to as well. So that's available already.
Okay, on YouTube, what is it available under? Is it Blue Collar?
It's Death Holler.
Okay,
I posted under Death Holler. We'll have yet to find out if Mike puts it on Rain Man. I did send it to him last night, and I politely asked, all I ask of you is that you realize that I am not a professional when I put this together. Oh, he gave me a thumbs up. Woo! We'll see if he posts it on the Crossroads. Literally, we just had our webcam that I'm using right now, which folks can't see, but HD camera. I did send it to him in high def, and our audio was recorded in an open room with a mic that my husband was so impressed with. He actually has let me keep it, which is a Blue Yeti.
Yeah, those are supposed to be really good.
Yeah, and it's a condenser mic, so it does pick up a little bit more background, but there was nothing going on in the room. It's a little echoey, but considering what the situation we were in just in this huge, condo, It did really well. It picked up our audio very well. We literally just sat it between us. So that was fun to do.
I listen to podcasts all the time that do like live con things, and even the professional ones like have shitty con audio just because you can't control for the sound at any of those locations. So
yeah,
I think you're fine on that.
So with the audio version, I have a way of cleaning up some of the background noise. So I'll probably do that. I wish I had thought about that before I sent the video to Mike, but whatever, it is what it is. So, yeah, so that's pretty much about it. Hot Mess Express, literally that's on the Blue Collar BS network. And I'm just doing kind of shows with friends from high school right now. So we're kind of reliving the glory days. That's going pretty well. I actually have an ex-49ers, San Francisco 49ers player coming on, one of my friends from high school who played for the 49ers. He caught wind of the episode and he is interested in joining on an episode. So that's kind of what's going on Hot Mess Express. The girls will be back. We have one that I guess is a little expensive right now. So, we're not making a lot of episodes where they're traveling here. And then, of course, Kayla she's working a lot as an EMT. So I'm kind of giving them a little bit break while I catch up with other people. And Blue Collar BS is doing its usual bullshit. So they are consistent. I've heard that there's talks about doing a conspiracy theories episode. So we'll have to work that out because they want to do that once a month. And I think that'll be pretty cool to listen to.
I think that would be very interesting, as I may or may not be contributing to that. So that'd be good.
That'll be really, really cool. Anyway, so the next episode that we are going to be doing House on Haunted Hill, old and the new, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll be coming up here very soon. And then after that, because I just have to throw it out because I'm so excited, then we're going to be doing 13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts, and then that will put us in April, so it's going to be tight, but we're going to try to get in both a Ghostbusters retrospective and throw in Beetlejuice, because if you're going to throw in a comedy horror movie, and with a ghost, it's got to be Beetlejuice.
You got to have the ghost with the most. 100%.
So, I'm hoping we can get to both of them, and I don't know which one I'd feel sadder about if we couldn't get to, because I love both of those movies, but I definitely want to get Beetlejuice in on this because he was part of our rating scale at first. So, you can't leave that out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so with that, peace be with you.
And with your mirrored spirit. Bye.